staple your finger, right? Hello and welcome to, well, Carlin's Worlds. Yeah, that should work. I'm a wanderer, a tinkerer, sometimes a nomad, a military veteran. I do things differently. There will be tinkering. I have a motorcycle, a truck, and a school bus. I live off-grid, so there will be some solar, batteries, inverters, and maybe even some wind. It blows. And that's all I can fit into about 30 seconds. Oh, and please, if you like any of this, it would be really awesome if you could subscribe and click that notify bell. Drop a comment if you have any questions or ideas. Share, like, comment, subscribe, notify. Oh, and Patreon if you're really an awesome kind of person. Cool. On with the show already. Alright, kind of made a plan for my day off. So I've got generator going, brewed a pot of coffee. Laundry is happening. Deep freeze is running. Then we'll jump outside. Battery is charging. Battery bank off of the generator. Also, we're getting lots of solar today. But I pulled the batteries down last night, so I'm going to run the battery charger. I don't know that I need the table saw today, so I think I'm not going to worry about that for now. I'm not going to bring it out. But I did fill up the air compressor. So I got it filled up to 150 psi. And I'm going to run my brad nailer. And the plan is I'm going to put some plastic up. But like basically what I'm going to do is this side that's open. This was meant to be screened when I built it. That's why I left it so open. And I figured it was up against the bus, so I didn't need to worry about it. But I do still get a little bit of rain through that gap, and it comes down and gets stuff wet in here. So what I'm thinking for this winter, I don't really need a shade awning so much, right? This was kind of, I was hoping to use this as a spot that I could do some work outside and get out of the brutal sun. It was kind of what I was looking at doing with this. Now, with that said, I also got an enormous amount of rainwater off of this little roof. So that's paid off just for that, if nothing else. So I figure for the winter, I'm going to put some plastic over the opening. Not going to be super watertight or airtight or anything like that. Just a place that I can throw some stuff to get it out of the sun, keep it out of the rain, and maybe get some things out of the bus that I don't need very often. And my plan is on the plastic, I'm going to take strips of wood and brad nail the plastic to the exposed 2x4s. Alright, so I cut the first piece to go across here, so it's going to wrap around kind of like on the first window beside the door on the end. So let's see how that works out. I figured we'll start with an easy one first and then go from there. Should leave me lots of room. It's first week in November. Wearing shorts, huh? How about that? Take advantage of it when you can. Alright, deal with that. I cut a bunch of these scraps when I was doing the covering of the wheel well on the other side. I am wearing my safety glasses, anybody that asks. Just sounds satisfying. I shut the air compressor off at about 145 psi, and I've got the output regulated down to 100. The gun says between 70 and 100. Yeah, these are going just below the surface, so you kind of want to be aware of how deep they're going, I guess. I mean, no sense overkilling it, right? I can run my air compressor off of the battery bank off of the inverter for a while. On a good day like today where I'm getting lots of sunshine, I think that would work out pretty well. I could have the inverter turned on, the air compressor turned on. Once it fills up, it doesn't, these don't use very much air. I'm used to air tools like, you know, impact drivers and screws that burn through a lot of air. But a stapler or a brad nailer uses a very small amount of air. So I may be able to get a whole bunch done before the air compressor even runs out of air, is my point. So that's something to think about. And the little pancake air compressors use a smaller tank so they fill faster. Just don't staple your finger, right? Just looked at the air compressor. I've used about 3 psi, so it's down to about 142 right now. So this is not going to be a burden. Plywood. Oh, no problem. It just blows right through. That's pretty cool. That'll work. Ow. Split. One thing to look for. I just had a thin piece of scrap and I went into OSB, so now those are sticking out the back end. So you just want to be aware of the fact how long are your brads. Probably using more than I need to. Alright, air tool safety tip. Disconnect it if you're not actually using it. That'll keep you from shooting yourself in the leg or something. Alright, that took no time at all. I'm down to about 105 psi, so I used up, I mean that's kind of arbitrary I guess, but I went from 145 down to 105. So if that was plugged in, the air compressor would have started up. But that's kind of the thing, is it would start up, build up pressure, and then shut itself off again. All right. And I'm using, yeah, I set the dial at 100 psi for the output hose. That seems to be working great. That's on the high end of what the gun can do. Yeah, there's an adjustment on here. I don't know where I am on the dial, but you can adjust it, how deep it penetrates. I think I'm on the deep end. So it's using a little more power. The adjustment is up by the trigger, so you can dial it up or down. If it looks like you're way over penetrating, you can dial it back a little bit, or if you need more power, you can dial it up so it goes in deeper. So, cool. Oh yeah, this was kind of a hack one day, but I set up my clothesline. Set up my clothesline in here. A little bit because some days out here it's so windy you get dust blowing on everything, and it's hot enough usually I don't really need them in the sun. So I thought, well, I'll just hang it up in here, and this was convenient because I had lots of room to run the rope, and that's enough to hang pretty much my whole load of laundry. I knew I wanted to use the table saw, I just didn't want to bring it out, but hey, there you are. Off camera, I cut 2 strips of OSB that are 8 feet long and 3 inches wide. And what I'm going to do with them, actually let me show you first. So 3-inch wide strips of OSB. Wind is just starting to kick up. On the back wall facing the bus, knowing there was already a wall of the bus there, I decided I didn't want to completely fill that in, so I put, I think that's a 16-inch piece there, and a second one down at the ground, alright, and left the rest open. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take a continuous piece from the top all the way down of plastic. So I cut a piece that's I think 9 feet by 9 feet. That should give me lots of extra. So what I'm looking at, I'm going to take my plastic, wrap it around this piece of OSB, and then tack I'm going to take a couple little scraps and shoot a brad through that to hold the plastic on both ends, because I don't have really good access between there. So what I'm hoping to do is walk it around the outside, push it all the way through, and then prop it up, clamp it on both ends, and then reach through from the ends and brad it to the top, and then from there just let it drape down. And then I'll take probably another one of these, because I got two, and go once across the middle, and then at the bottom I'll just hit the ends real quick. It's not going to get as much air in there, hopefully. We'll see. Part of this is, you know, it's practical because it's going to give me dry space for really cheap. It's also a testing for later on when I decide to build a greenhouse. How well does this stuff really stand up, and how hard do you have to try to keep it from tearing? So if I put this up and it just shreds in a week, okay, I learned something from that. If it works really well, great, maybe I don't have to try any harder. That's kind of the point right now, is how hard do you have to try to make this work? Will slightly come through, but not very much, I think. That'll work. I'm going to try to walk that back and get it in position. Without adjustment may be required. Resting it on the clamp, and then I can move the clamp and hopefully get it in position. That's the plan. The other reason I left these panels open in the first place, I just didn't want to shade it so much in the bus. I like the natural lighting of having all those windows, so I did bring myself to block that. Alright, one more small adjustment. I need to push this thing down. Time, get it ready. Look, see where I'm actually shooting. could be a little bit annoying running back and forth dragging your air hose. Something I've done in the past, and I actually have 2 air hoses, I just don't feel like doing it right now. But you could have, just undo your disconnect real quick and walk and just, you know, pick up the hose on the other end, have a second hose. That does work. Now, these are a little long, so they're going to come out. What I'm looking at, I did it on the other side. Figure out where that piece is, okay, so I can kind of feel it. I'm just going to do a couple here from the wrong side. Good enough, right? I hope that was on camera. That was awesome. I don't think this is just as good as my stapler, and the damn thing fell off. Hey, that's much better. Much better. I did all of that on one charge of the air compressor. I had it up to about 145 psi. I'm at 70 psi, which is the low end of what the brad nailer is supposed to be at. On the nailer itself, it says between 70 and 100. So I got all of that done on one charge of the little pancake air compressor. That's pretty cool. It's really efficient. It doesn't waste a lot of air, so that's really handy. All right, it's about 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and this one is done. Probably the easiest improvement is going along with some loose dirt or sand, berm the bottom to hold the plastic down. Also, there was a gap in between the bus and this, because I've got the skirting down here. I don't know if that's gonna, yeah, it'll show up. So I had never bermed the skirting when I did the rest of it, so took the time, bermed both sides. That'll hold the plastic down nice and tight on the bottom. I left the plastic, oh, well, like for instance here, oh, bright light. So here's the bottom of the plastic, and you come all the way over here. So I got probably 6 or 8 inches of plastic here. Put the dirt on there, it makes it nice and tight. That'll keep the wind from rustling it so bad. And something like this, if the wind doesn't catch it, we'll be fine. If the wind shreds it, I'm out, you know, a few dollars worth of plastic. Not a big deal. So it's good to go into something with low expectations, right? But a couple things that worked really well. Wrapping the plastic around that long board that went down the back made that just so much easier. I could just get it up there and then shoot the board right into the side. This one, same thing, that was easy. You can see how long I was running longer brads there, so they all came out. Just, you know, watch out for that. But this side, the side piece came around, covered up basically this quote-unquote window, and then where the doorway was, and that I did in one piece. This end, I'm just going to leave it closed for the winter. But I thought this was kind of handy. Oh, first of all, earlier I had ripped down a 2x4 into 2x2s. And this is about, what is it, about 3/4 by 1.5. So it's 1/4 of a 2x4. I mean, that's the whole thing, right? Brad nailed it from the outside to the top. It's just floating at the bottom. But again, I bermed the bottom edge. And then some more OSB stringers, and that's it. Ain't nothing to it. Super cheap. Don't care, right? Keep it simple. All right, you know, for something like this, Quick and easy saves the day. If it doesn't cost hardly anything, go ahead and do it, right? I really want for the summer to screen this in. That's why I left the sides open. And for the winter, since we're expecting a lot of rain this winter, I'm not sure what a lot means out here, but they said probably more rain in the winter than we had last summer. So we might get some decent rain. It'll keep everything relatively dry inside. With the sides open, you get sideways rain here, and the water just came in from every side, really. So this should mean that I can put things in there that'll be relatively dry. Also, because I used plastic, the windows in the bus, I get a lot of light through that, even if I can't see out. You know, I can't see through the plastic. It's translucent, but not really transparent. But it does get a lot of light in there. Relatively simple, easy day. We'll come back and check on it in a while just to see how well it held up. The wrapper for the plastic that I'm using, it's nothing special per se. I don't remember what I paid for it, but I don't think I spent a lot on it. HDX brand is, I think, the Home Depot brand. 3.5 mil, 25 feet by 25 feet, clear plastic sheeting. And it's listed as equipment cover, vapor, moisture barrier, insulation, paint protection. All right. Now, is it going to stand up to the sun? You know, hard to say. This package has 2 rolls, each is 25 feet by 10 feet. All right. So, I went into the second roll today, and I've used this on a couple other places, so you know, it's relatively cheap, and you can cut it easily with a sharp knife. I'm really glad that I got the table saw, because that opens up all kinds of options for me. For instance, ripping down the little slats out of OSB, dirt cheap, because I got that, the last batch of OSB I got, I think it was $10 or $11 a sheet. You know, so I used maybe $1 worth of OSB on this, you know, and some plastic. The fact that I can rip a 2x4 down into thinner pieces, so I've got some 2x2, and I've got now some like essentially 1x2, or 3/4 by 1.5 or whatever. So, you know, if you got a table saw, you can rip stuff down into little, you know, there's no sense wasting a perfectly good 2x4 on something like this. You don't need it. You know, so that was kind of why I bought the table saw in the first place, because I was seeing projects like that, you know, when I get around to doing the inside of the bus, and that's part of what I wanted to test this for. How well, you know, can I cut little pieces down, and can I use the brad nailer to put things together? And I think I'll be able to do that. So for the inside of the bus, I'm looking at taking a 2x4 and ripping it into thirds to make 1 inch by 1.5 inches, something like that. First strips basically, and then I can lay, I guess it depends on how thick of insulation I get, but if I can get 1/2 inch or 1 inch styrofoam, that might be good enough, because I'm not in extremely cold weather here. Projects like this, I did it as much as a test to see how well things are going to work. And if something like this is good enough for 6 months out here, that makes a really simple greenhouse. All right, well, thanks for watching. That's about it for that. If you're new to the channel, thanks for stopping by. Appreciate it if you can subscribe. If you have any questions, go ahead and drop them in the comments. I try to read the comments, answer as many as I have time for. I do live off-grid. I don't have cell phone coverage or internet out here on the property. Comments, likes, subscribe, notify. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned for the next one. Well, that's about it. Thank you so much for watching. Yeah, that should work. Cool. I do things differently. Oh, and please, if you like any of this, it would be really awesome if you could subscribe and click that notify bell. Drop a comment if you have any questions or ideas. Share, like, comment, subscribe, notify. Oh, and Patreon if you're really an awesome kind of person. Thank you so much for watching.